So I have taken a piece of paper and written down the books that I actually read because I noticed that this is way late. So I had to kind of piece together the things that I had read in July as well as August, and I'll give you a combined video. Some of the books, and my whole thing with making these videos is because a lot of the people that I see online are able to read this massive amount and hoard these massive amounts of books. And I'm just here to present to you the reality. I mean, I read a fair amount in July. July was pretty fruitful as far as books go. August, not so much, and I'm going to get into that a little bit. If we start with last month, though, I'm not sure what order this is, so I'm just going to start talking about the books that I read. So I read, and I know I did a rant about this, Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. I didn't mind the book. I didn't mind the movie. But there were things of the book. It would have been so much better had the movie had the guts to make some of the decisions that were made in the book. I'll say that. So the premise of the book is this family, these two fathers and a daughter, are on vacation in this cabin. And out of nowhere comes this group of people that are telling them that the end of the world is coming. The family is told that they have to come to a unanimous decision, sacrifice one of their own, and that prevents the world ending. But each time they fail to make a decision within a certain period, one of the strangers that visits them dies horribly. And on the news, they see whatever horrible event is happening to the world as part of the end of the world. So I do recommend the book. I thought it was interesting. I thought that the chapters, and I like this with a lot of books. I'm not going to say that it's a novel idea, pun intended. Not really, but I'll pretend. Every chapter is kind of a different, well, I won't say every chapter, but a lot of the chapters are a different point of view. And that's interesting to me. I like that. I like being able to switch point of views there. So I would recommend it. I liked the book more than the movie because the decisions that were made in the book, I think, were quite gutsy in a lot of places. And the Hollywood movie just decided to pull punches. It made me like the movie less after everything was said and done. So moving on, what is the next thing I have written down? I have the book You Won't Believe Me by, and I'm going to mispronounce this name, Sin? Balog? Sign? Balog? I'm so sorry. And I enjoyed this book for the most part. I even enjoyed the concept of the end. I didn't quite like the way it was executed at the end, but it was an interesting thought process. It was an interesting, when I was reading it, it was interesting to try to guess what was going on. It's one of those books where you have no idea. I don't I can't even tell you a lot of the book. What I can say is this girl wakes up, she's tied to a bed, and a random person comes to feed her and whatever. She's there for a while. She has no idea why she's there, who these people are, or whatever. And you come to believe that it's a post apocalyptic scenario that she's in and that they are trying to somehow keep her alive. I think that's as far as I can go. Um, Very fascinating book. I had this as an audiobook that was in my queue, so I picked it up and read it. And yeah, I have nothing bad to say about the concept of the book. Not the best written book, but I have nothing bad to say about the concept. The execution was lacking in a little bit, but um, I want to say that I wasn't totally surprised, but I was surprised enough, and I liked where it went. Now, the next book I'm going to talk about is a book where I'm not the demographic. I wasn't the proper audience for this book. And therefore, I didn't really enjoy the book. It was Feed by Mara Grant. And I'll say that I didn't enjoy the book. I thought the book was going to be different than it was, right? I thought, well, let me get into the plot actually. So, the plot is about a couple of podcasters that are journalists for the zombie apocalypse. And right there, I thought that was interesting. I'm like, okay, well, there's going to be lots of gore. It's zombies, so there's usually some good, you know, people ripping apart situations. There's usually some good spooks, but not so much. Without getting into spoilers, it's more these journalists get hired to follow a political campaign. And I won't say that it's not interesting. It wasn't a boring book, but definitely it was quite a bit younger than I was wanting. It was quite a bit more drama as far as the political campaign. Very little about the actual zombies. Very little. And you can argue that that is the way that it is because zombies, at the beginning, yes, you have attacking the zombies. But then later on, you have this concept of how do we have life? How do we keep some kind of political structure? How do we keep some kind of societal structure? And so there's a switch about what is the main focus. The main focus is the zombies, or is the focus the aftermath of trying to cope in this new world? And so I get that. But yeah, I don't I not for me. Um I think if they had a little bit more, I want to say that it's quite a light book if you're wanting something that has zombies in it. I want to say that the way the zombies are presented and the way that they're dealt with is quite light, There wasn't a situation where I was really worried about people. I mean, I guessed pretty early on what was happening. It's pretty in your face, and like I said, I'm not the demographic for this book, and I actually should look it up what age range is for this book because I'm thinking it might be young adult as well. And if so, this is probably a lot more risque than where I'm coming from. So I guess I'll look that up. I don't think I will. In my brain, I'm curious, but I'm pretty sure after I'm done this, I'm gonna forget. This book is pretty forgettable. I would say out of the ones that I've talked about so far, I'm gonna forget this book existed. A book that I was disappointed by is Slewfoot by Brom. Now, a lot of people really like this book, so I'm not going to take away from these people's experience. I liked the first half. I'll say that I feel like the last half fell off of a turnip truck. It felt very convenient, the second half. It felt very, I don't know how to put it, but I did not like the second half. First half, absolutely. So, what you have here is you have a story about a woman that has moved from, I want to say it was England, to a Puritan village. I want to say it's in the US. I could be wrong. But anyway, she moved from a place that was very not, well, this is historically accurate. Everything was kind of religious at that time. But from a less religious area to a more religious area. And she does that because her father has basically sold her off. I'm not sure of the money that changed hands there, but he basically sent her to get married to this Puritan fellow. There's a question about whether she's a witch, whether, and I'm going to stop there. But, there's a question about what's happening with the farm. There's a question about who she is and how she's able to make things go. There's corruption. There's a whole bunch of things. Like I said, the first half I really liked because it had all these pieces. And the second half, so I had this on audiobook as well, and I enjoyed it there. I have leafed through the book in the physical copy to be able to see the images because that's what a lot of people know Brom for. And I have to say I did enjoy those images, knowing what the story is. A lot of people like this story, so I wouldn't say don't read this story. I don't want to say that at all. Your experience could be very different from my experience, and I hope that's true. I hope that your time reading this story is a lot better than my time. So, with that, we're going to go to the next book, which is The Deep by Nick Cutter. I liked most of this book. I wouldn't say I really hated the ending. I thought the ending was interesting, but I thought it was weak. I thought that there were a lot of things that they kind of let go of. Now, between the Troop and the Deep, The Deep has less animal harm than The Troop. But similar to The Troop, they both have animal harm mostly being a scientific event. In both books, some of it made sense, some of it didn't need to go to, I think, the level that it went to. I will caution people if animal harm is something that they don't want to read about in their books. I mean, in The Troop, I remember it not being so, and this doesn't excuse animal harm. I don't feel they were animals that you were endeared to. They weren't animals that you had seen as pets, you had spent some time with. It didn't make it easier. They were rough. So, in The Deep, well, first of all, I'll go into the plot. Deep down beyond the Marianas Trench, there's a research facility that is trying to figure out a solution for a plague that's happening in the world that is killing people off. And this research facility has a few people in there, and the main oceanic scientific community has lost communications with them. Do you know where this is going to go? Chaos is gonna ensue. I promise you that. It's never a good thing that they've lost communication. So they found the brother of one of the scientists, and he goes down with another person, and he gets into the vessel, and there he meets a dog. There he meets one of the test subjects, and chaos does ensue. I will say that during the book, there's almost a never-ending story style tearjerker with an animal. It was rough, and it made me almost cry. I was on a walk, and I was listening to the audiobook, and I was just like, I had a hard time. And that being said, I did have a good time with the book for the most part. It was an okay book. I think it kind of got weaker at the end, but I think that there was a lot of the book that I did actually enjoy. I did like the idea of isolation that they were in. I did like the mystery of what was going on. And the book was spooky. And I did enjoy that because a lot of books, they might be horrific. There might be horrible things that happen in the book, but they themselves are not spooky. It's, yeah. So I do recommend it that way. I want to strongly say that if there's if there's like a sensitive spot, or if you are triggered by that kind of loss, that kind of, if you're kind of triggered by animal harm in your stories, I mean, I think, okay, I think in a majority of the books that I've mentioned so far, I think that there's some kind of animal harm. It might not be it might not be in the forefront of what's going on in the book. This one lasts a few pages, I think. It lasts a while. And you have to sit with the doom and the dread and what's going on and whatever for a while. So I will say that. So this month, I'm not quite finished these, but I am going to talk about them anyway. One is Blade Runner: Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. I have tried to physically read this book probably about 5 times. To me, it's a very hard book to read. I don't know what it is. I don't know what kind of style this person has in their writing. It's not bad writing, but I don't know quite what's in the book that makes it so hard for me to get into. So what I did was, because I was struggling so much with the physical book, because I had the physical book, I went ahead and through the library got the audiobook. And I allowed that because of the fact that I had really started and stopped this book so many times. And I've heard people rant and rave about the movie. And I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know. But so this is an interesting book. It's a post-apocalyptic book. And there's a couple different thoughts in there and a couple different characters. And some of the characters that you follow are bounty hunters, and they're wanting to go after androids that have it's basically slavery, what we do with some androids. But there's been a leaving of Earth to other places, and we hear that there's been a war on Earth, and it was a nuclear war, and there's fallout. And so one of the characters is trying to find and bounty hunt these androids that have escaped their human, I guess, owners, for a lack of better term. And the androids have become so sophisticated that it's harder and harder for them to, or for people to establish whether or not they're authentically people. And there's different storylines that you get along the way. I don't know if I said that really well, but the audiobook made all the difference. I've been able to listen to the story, I've been able to follow it, I've been able to do everything that I was having a hard time doing physically reading it. So I do recommend the book. I actually really like some of the post-apocalyptic views of the book. I enjoy some of the questioning of governments and just like the strength that politics seems to have, and different aspects in the book. I'm like, well, should we be able to do this? Like they were talking about in the book, a device that tunes into your behavior, and you can register a certain code within this device, and it will change how you feel about something. It'll change your motivation about something. And I'm like, I don't know if it's part of the human experience for you to like be so scheduled, be able to kind of force yourself into different things. Like at the very beginning, this is not a spoiler. At the very beginning, you get a snapshot of this husband and wife, and the wife is talking about having scheduled, I think, a depressive episode, and the husband is having this dialogue with her about why the hell would she do that? Because he has scheduled himself for being optimistic about going to work. And it was just so interesting. I'm like, why do you have to do that? Why is it good to do that? Why is this a thing that people have to do in order to like survive? I don't know. It's not fully fleshed out in the book, the why, but it's stuff like that that makes you think throughout the entire book. So I definitely recommend it. I would like to go through the book again. I would like to really think while I'm what I would like to do, actually, now that I'm talking about it, is have the physical book and listen to the audiobook and be able to like read the words and pause the audiobook and think about what I'm reading. Because to be honest, right now is very I listen to the audiobook, but I'm not actively reviewing the content. I'm not really digging down and considering what I feel about the content. And I think that this book deserves that. I think that it has quite a few things that you can kind of do a deep dive on. So I do recommend it for that. I do want to caution that it was difficult for me to physically read, but I do actually like that. The last book, again, I have not finished by the time recording it, but I will have finished by the time this is up, is Harry and the Hendersons. I just wanted something cute. I'm not really sure who wrote it. It's a book that was made because the movie came out in the 80s. I mean, what else is there to say? It's a cute story about a family that goes camping and they accidentally hit Bigfoot with their car. They take the Bigfoot home. They become friends with the Bigfoot, and there's a big bad wanting to like hunt the Bigfoot down for fame. And what happens with that? So it's a cute story. I'm not thinking that the writing is anything. I don't think it was meant to be anything. I think it was just we made a movie, it made lots of money. I'm going to make a book and we're going to sell a book. That's exactly what the movie is. I don't know what to say about that. It was cute. I wanted something light, especially after The Deep, especially after Blade Runner, which is so cerebral. I wanted just something easy. And Harry and the Hendersons was, and it was super cute, and I have no regrets. Not all the books can be deep. This one's a palate cleanser, I guess is what you would call it. So that is what I read this month. This month I only got through 3. Last month was a big one. I got through 5. books. And that's the way that life is. I want to promote that because you will get bombarded by people that might get through a lot of books, like people that might have book channels that are able to get through a lot of things. I don't know about you, but it's difficult for me to get through a lot of books in a month. I don't mind sharing my experience with you because you know what? You need some kind of, and we all need some kind of representation about normalcy. And normalcy can look like a lot of different things. It could be a person that gets through a lot of books in a month. No shade to the people that are able to do that. It can also look like a person who's maybe inconsistent with their reading. Like I am. I got through a lot of books last month and I got through a few this month. And you know what? I might have a book month where, and I know I have, where I read one book or I don't read at all. And that's fine. That's fine. It's okay to have goals. It's okay to say that you're going to do a certain many things. But don't think that just because you're not able to, or something comes up, or whatever, that it means that you've failed. You haven't failed. A friend of mine told me, she's like, you don't need to read. And for a large portion, that's true. I mean, we're not in the, I guess, the environment where the only thing that we have is the newspaper and reading is the only way we can experience the world. Fortunately, we don't have that. But also, unfortunately, you might get bombarded with this normal image that's actually not normal. That's actually pretty extreme. Now, if you're able to do that, if that's your thing, all the more power to you, right? I'm not saying that a person that loves collecting books, loves reading books, and is able to purchase a certain amount and read a certain amount in a month, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not throwing shade. I'm giving you, as well as myself, permission to do you. You're not coming from a place that you're not playing catch up. This is not something that you need to do to be a good person, to be valuable, to be acceptable. And I want to say that, not that you necessarily need to hear it. I need to tell myself often that when it comes to being productive, there are not things or another person's productivity level in whatever might not be achievable for me, and that's okay. That's something that's achievable to them, and that's something that they might present to me for lots of different reasons. But it doesn't mean that if I'm not reaching their standard, that there's something wrong with me. I do the best with what I struggle with what I have, with what, like the tools that I have to do the thing. And with that, I give myself grace. And I hope you give yourself grace too. I'll get off my soapbox, but that is something that has been at me that I really want to talk about. So there you have it. There's some books that I've read last month and a few this month. I'm going to be concluding my uh, TBR challenge next month. I guess by the time this comes up, it's September. I will finish that in September. I still have quite a few books that I need to read, but I think that I can maybe do a hybrid of books that normal. I'm gonna do, which is I'm gonna try to see if I can do some books that I already own, read those, and gather new books, read those, and get to a sort of equilibrium where I'm not just stashing away books in thinking that I'm going to read them and actually not reading them. That's the goal. That's my hope. Don't know if I'm going to get there. I might end up having to do another challenge. I have a lot of books left over that I should read. That's it for today, but I hope you're having the best day in whatever situation that you find yourself in, and I'll talk to you later.